Hi there, it's Kathy from Kathy Loves to Scrap, back with another layout just today. Just a layout and an instruction of how it came together. I was inspired by Carol and on 365 scrapbook challenges on Facebook. I'm using this layout today to create another page for my Christmas album. This here are 2 photos taken up at the Hunter Valley Gardens. I'm going to use a red cardstock and a white cardstock for my framing. So I'm using 2 different papers for the circles. This one here with the holly leaves, this one here for the lights. And I've chosen this background. It's got the 12 Days of Christmas words in lines across the page. So first of all, I'm going to get started, and I need to work out which one is going to best be my framing for my page. I'm using, as I said, the words script page as my background, and I'm thinking the white or maybe the red. No, I think the white makes it stand out better, so I'm going to go with the white for my frame and leave the red for the middle section, I think. Make it pop. Alright, so now that I've made that decision, I need to cut out the center of my frame. I'm going to get my Fiskars cutter here. I always cut out the center. It extends it. I can use it for framing. I can use it for titles and so forth. It's a lot easier, and it extends your stash, particularly if you're on a budget, which I'm not, but I just like to do it. Alright, so I'm cutting out the sides, and I generally cut off about 1/4 of an inch, although this time I think I might go a little bit wider. Just doesn't seem to be sitting on the frame properly, so I'm going to take another bit out, an 1/8 more off. See how that goes. That looks still good. Of course, I forgot to take off the branding strip, so I always manage to do that. I'm going to just cut off 1/8 of an inch both sides, and that will now make it right. Now, as you can see, I'm working in my desk, which has all my stuff on it, and I work around that space. And it's a little bit dark, so it's getting darker and shadowy, and I'm really sorry about that. That's the lighting. Alright, so I'm just going to quickly frame this up, and I use double-sided tape. As I've said before, Xpress It is my preferred choice of tape. I do use others if I can't get it, but that's my preferred choice. Okay, and I do one edge at a time to ensure it's lined up and flat as I'm doing it. Then I work my way around the 4 by taking off the strip underneath. That way I can guarantee that the frame doesn't warp, which can happen, as you see, if you're not watching what you're doing, and it can make your page not be flat. So I tend to go one at a time to make sure that my page is flat, and then I run my hands over to make sure that everything is down firm. Now that I've done that, I have my background ready to go, and I can start building my page. What I need to do first is I need to cut out of the 2 contrasting, and I'm going to start here with the lights on the paper. And I'm using my Creative Memories circle cutters, which I've had forever and a day and never ever intend losing. Although the blades are getting a little bit dull, and I might need to invest in some new blades. So I need to find a Creative Memories person that I can tap into to do that. So I'm going to trace 4 circles using the light bulb paper, because they are going to be the basis of my page. I need to do 4 of those, and as you can see, come out nicely. I'm going to continue on and cut out the others. Alright. You need 4 of those in one colour. Make sure you cut them smoothly. As you can see, my blades are getting a little dull. Alright, now I'm going to do exactly the same again, this time using the holly paper. And I've put them close together because I might use the holly for some fussy cutting later on. Just see how we go. Cut out my 4. Now I've got 4 with the light bulbs and 4 with the holly. These are now going to form the basis of my layout. Taking the darker ones, I'm going to take one, I'm going to fold it in half and pinch it in the centre to give me a marking point. This isn't actually accurate and I probably should have ruled it and drawn it properly, but I'm just doing it here, and I'm sure when you do it you're going to do it much neater and much more accurate than I am. So as you can see, I folded in half, folded in half. Now I'm going to cut out 1/4 of the circle so that it creates a type of peephole. I imagine if you're limited on your cardstock or you want to reduce your cardstock, you could just use half the circles and then just cut them into halves and quarters to do this part of the page. But I'm just using the full circle, and I'm going to go and cut out 1/4 on each of the pages, each of the circles in the dark. So I'm calling out that 1/4. It's not exactly straight, that's why I said it's probably better if you do rule it. But then I'm going to just use that 1/4, and in hindsight I should have used the 3/4 because it would have been more accurate. Cut out my next 1/4 on this one by getting my pencil and drawing it in. But as I said, if I'd used the 3/4 it would have gone a lot easier. But of course I never do anything the easy way. Taking that out. Now that I've done that, I'm now going to repeat that process for the other circles in the dark colour, so that in the end I will have my 4 3/4 circles. As I said before, you could have just cut 2 circles in half and in quarters to do the next placement, but that's fiddly. This is just the easiest way I felt to do this part. Now I have my 4 3/4 circles and I have my 4 full circles. I can start working out my idea. Underneath my 3/4 circles, I'm going to use the rest of the light bulb paper and using a 2-inch punch, which unfortunately you can't see on the page until I cut the circles. I'm going to cut out 4 circles. They're going to be like a peephole circle through that 3/4. Okay, so I'm just going to lay out where these are going to fit on the page so I can get an idea of what it's going to look like before I start sticking everything into place and making sure everything aligns and I've got the right sizes. Okay, so I'm just going to stick in the 2-inch circle under the 3/4 gap so that you can see a peephole, and it gives that follow through design. You see how it now is making 1/4 of your page, and it's setting out an inbuilt frame sort of to the layout. I'm now going to use just realigning to make sure they all fit. Double-sided tape is great for that because if I need to lift it, I can. And then when I press it down, it's in place. So I'm quickly putting all my circles into place so that I have got my base lined up. I really like this layout, and Cindy Brown, she did hers, Cindy Thaya Brown, and as soon as I saw it I knew I wanted to scrap lift this one. It is effective. It could be done with any colours. I've seen it done with florals. I've seen it done with just cardstock. I think it's great. Alright, I just used my ruler just to reassure myself, and I'm now going to cut out of my red cardstock, like I put to the side, a 7.5 by 7.5 square, which then lines up beautifully with the 4 points of the 3/4 of the circles. Take those down and put that into place. And as you can see, it's all coming together, and the red really makes the rest of the layout pop. And that's what we want. And it also will pick up the red from the photos. I'm now going to mat my photos. My photos are 3.5 by 5s, and that's actually the size I'm tending to print a lot of my photos these days. I actually like that size because I get the full photo but in a smaller size, so I'll get more on a page without having to chop out any of the photo. So there we go, and I'm now layering those on. And as you can see, the red is being mirrored from the photos through that red background square. Okay, I'm putting them on a diagonal and looking quite good now. Alright, now I'm going to cut out the title. Yes, I did go back and use the gold because I just wanted it to be double mounted. And the gold picks up the gold, which you can't really see in the white light paper because one of the light bulbs is actually a gold shimmery. And it looks quite very spectacular, really. And I'm just double mounting my photos. It adds an extra spill. I'm going to cut off the little bit extra where I sometimes over generous with my under mounting. There you go. Now I put them onto the page in place so that they don't move and I don't lose them. And once I've got that in place, I can look at building with embellishments and titles. Alright, so squeezing and making sure that everything is now firmly in place because I don't want any of it to move. Alright, now I've gone and got a white gel pen, which I'm adding some faux stitching. I do like a stitched effect on a layout, and sometimes I'll hand stitch, but for this one I'm going to faux stitch, and that white just gives it a little bit of a finishing touch around the red and also at the edge of the page. So it just finishes it off and makes the page look complete. I like to have a bit of a border on my pages. Yes, I frame them, but I like to add a little bit of doodling to create a full effect and an edge to the page. Alright, so that's where I've done. Now I've got a red pen and I'm just going to add to the smaller circles, make them pop. And I'm not actually going to touch the large circles. I thought about it, but I'm actually not going to. Now I'm looking at this leftover and I do see some full holly pieces, which I think would be really good given that this is going into my Christmas album, so I'll fussy cut those. I've gone to my Cricut design space and I've used it to create the title with some mounting, and I'm going to call this page Shall We Dance, because I am actually pretending we were dancing with Humpty Dumpty up the Hunter Valley Gardens. So this here I'm going to put out where I think everything belongs. I like to place everything first to, you know, before you put anything down, it's a good idea to place your embellishments and that to make sure that it's balanced, that the eye is drawn neatly around the page and nothing is dominating anything else. I don't really like it up the top there. It just doesn't sit right. So I think I'll bring it down here to the bottom. And as you can see, if you look across the embellishments and the title, then now sets up a triangle which is pleasing to the eye. Alright, so I'm using my puffy tape, different set of scissors so they don't jam up. I cut them into strips and I'm placing them over the top of the existing one so that it pops up the holly. And yes, it will be over the edge of the page for some of it, and others it's just an added part in. I'm going to glue down using my tacky glue my title so that I can put this last holly piece into place. And there you have those. Right, now for the finishing and final touches. We always have to glitz up the berries because we want them to stand out, and I'm using my Cosmic Shimmers here in the red, and they really are a very bright sparkle when they dry. I'm going to finish that with some gold, I think, and because it's just still a little bit flat. And so I've got the gold and I'm going to put in the threes because remember, odds are pleasing for the eye. Always use that. It's like Fibonacci. It's a natural thing for the eye to look in there. And I touched the red, so I'm just going to touch it up again. And I've now put my 3s around each of the circles, top, bottom, so that they are complementary. And I'm still a little bit flat, so I'm going to add in some white pearl nouveaux to the corners in my 3 dots in each corner, so that the page has a finishing quality to it. Nouveaux are really good because you give a flick under the page and it turns them. I'm just making sure that I'm pressing those down. They look like that went down flat. When you flick them underneath, it gives you a bit of an enamel dot look to your nouveaux, which is really good. And it finishes it off nicely. Now, because this is going into my Christmas album, I don't have to journal on this one. People will know who's on it. And I'm just going to add the date down in the bottom corner. Even though other pages have that date in an album, it's always nice to date it for future reference. And there we have my page, Shall We Dance? It's a 2-photo page. Use some silver. You can see the shimmers there, still a little bit wet, but they will dry. 2 photos. I've added in some popped elements, so it gives some detail. The faux stitching, the nouveau drops to the corner. And as you can see, the page has just been zhuzhed a little bit. So that's how this page came together, and I'm sure if you like it, put a little tick on my like box, and if you haven't already done so, you can subscribe and stay tuned for future videos, which now that I've got it set up will be happening more regularly. And you can see how quick and simple that was, and it looks really effective. Follow me on Instagram. I have a lot of layouts up there already, and it'd be really good if you could see them all. But as I said, I'm affiliated with no one really. This one here is just an instructional, and I'd love to have you follow me. Thanks for watching, and I hope something inspires you to get creative.